Jackie Robinson hit that ball. It went zooming across the left field wall. Yeah, boy.
Yes, Jackie hit that ball.
Mid-20th century America was characterized by two large events, World War II and the Civil Rights Movement. These events changed the way that America was seen by the world and the way Americans saw each other. These two events intersected through the Double V campaign, which emerged out of the outrage that while African Americans can die defending their country abroad, they face discrimination and segregation at home. The Double V campaign called for two victories, victory in the war and victory in the fight for civil rights. One of their focuses was the integration of Major League Baseball, which had been segregated since the late 1880s after a gentleman's agreement between the owners to ban black players. From then on, black players played in the Negro Leagues and white players played in the majors, until in 1947, Jackie Robinson made his debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Robinson's integration of baseball faced conflicts and resistance throughout, but through his willingness to compromise his own personal comfort and his instinctual desire to fight back, the integration of Major League Baseball was a success that pushed forward racial progress in the United States. The man who ultimately decided to break the long-standing tradition of segregation was Branch Rickey, the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Rickey was a shrewd businessman who saw the Negro Leagues as an untapped talent pool that would help his Dodgers. Rickey's main goal was finding a talented ball player who would improve the Dodgers. However, he also needed a player who could handle the enormous pressure that would accompany being the first black player and the enormous prejudice that would come from opposing teams and fans. Robinson's life had given him experiences that would equip him well for this. He was raised in integrated Pasadena, California, and went to UCLA, where he starred in basketball, baseball, football, and track, becoming the first person to letter in 4 sports at UCLA. He did this while playing with both black and white players, proving both his athletic prowess and his ability to coexist with white competitors and teammates. After his time at UCLA, Robinson was drafted into the Army and rose to the rank of lieutenant. However, he was discharged following a conflict he had with another soldier.
He was court-martialed and brought up on some trumped-up charges because he refused to take the back seat to a fellow white soldier on a military bus.
Not only did Robinson's background equip him to integrate the league successfully, but it also made him a palatable choice that would appeal to moderate white fans.
I think the person that Jackie Robinson was made him an appropriate poster child. There were people like Satchel Paige and others that people would argue were better athletes, but just the perfect fit to bring attention to a certain subject, similar to Rosa Parks, where there was other people who refused to move on the bus, but they didn't really fit the mold or the model that would cause that type of political awareness that everybody can take part in.
There was still one more issue that Rickey had to address. Robinson was very short-tempered. In college, his teammates called him the rattlesnake because he was so quick to lash out. Robinson's temper didn't keep Rickey from signing him, but Rickey needed Robinson to promise not to retaliate. Rickey knew that if Robinson engaged in any conflict with the opponents of integration, it would compromise the entire task. In an often told exchange, Robinson asked, "Mr. Rickey, do you want a player who doesn't have the guts to fight back?" To which Rickey responded, "No, I want a player with the guts not to fight back." So, Robinson made a compromise with Rickey that he would not speak out or strike back against the discrimination for his first 2 years in the league.
He was not inclined to not fight back. This is somebody who was naturally inclined to hit back when struck. He compromised that, or he sacrificed that on the altar of racial justice.
With this compromise in place, Robinson signed a contract, and after playing for a year in the minor leagues, Jackie Robinson made his major league debut on April 15, 1947. After signing a contract, Robinson's debut was the next hurdle for integration. Black fans were overjoyed with his signing and bought Dodgers tickets at a record rate. But white fans, opposing players, and coaches did not react the same way. Players, and even entire teams, threatened to boycott games against the Dodgers. Fans harassed Robinson endlessly, sending him and his family death threats in the mail. And on the field, Robinson faced a constant barrage of attacks. Pitchers threw at him deliberately, base runners slid into him spikes first, and racist taunts and slurs from players, fans, and even coaches were relentless. The worst instance was in Philadelphia. Ben Chapman, the manager of the Phillies, was a notorious racist and led his team in shouting racist epithets at Robinson. He also directed his players to throw at him, slide into him, and pretend to shoot at him. It was the closest Robinson came to breaking the compromise he made with Ricky. As Robinson once remembered in an interview, "For one wild and rage-crazed minute, I thought, to hell with Mr. Ricky's noble experiment." Chapman's vicious attack was an eye-opener for many Americans of what Robinson was facing, and this acknowledgement of the conflicts Robinson struggled with and his poise and calmness throughout the ordeal shifted a lot of public support in favor of Robinson and in favor of integration. To fight the bad press, Chapman and the Phillies had to convince the Dodgers to let them put together a photo op of Chapman apologizing to Robinson.
What happened from it was the public apology, the fact that Robinson held it in, and the fact that public opinion in many cases turned towards Jackie Robinson and away from those who were resisting integration actually made the whole situation in terms of integration a lot stronger.
While that may be the most extreme example, Robinson faced conflict like this on and off the field throughout his career, especially in the beginning. Yet, he held to his promise to Ricky and held his tongue despite the pain and hurt he must have felt. He couldn't speak out when forced to eat in different restaurants and stay in different hotels than his teammates. He couldn't speak out about the death threats, the racist taunts, or the abuse on the field. A man who was discharged from the military for standing up for his civil rights had to hold his mouth shut because he knew it would not allow greater things to happen. For the sake of the movement, and in keeping his promise to Ricky, the rattlesnake had to hide his rattle.
I think a lot of times people mistake his patience for weakness and don't really look at him as a strategist and somebody who understood that in order to make real progress, I can't fight every minor battle if I want to win a major war. To use a sports analogy, you're not going to try to get a bunch of jabs in if you think you can uppercut this guy, once he gets tired. You're going to rope-a-dope him, let him, drop his hands. Then you can really strike a real blow and get a Voting Rights Act or something, of significance. So just, punching people in the face or cursing people out every time they call your name, that's not really going to translate the same way with regards to having overall progress for millions of people.
Despite the conflicts, Robinson succeeded on the field. In his first season, he won the Rookie of the Year award, and following that groundbreaking first year, he went on to have an incredibly successful career, in which he accomplished Ricky's initial intention when signing Robinson by leading the Dodgers to a World Series championship in 1955. He retired in 1957, and in 1962, he was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. On top of that, in 1997, Robinson's number, 42, was retired for the entire league, which guarantees that no other player can ever wear 42 in Major League Baseball. An unprecedented act of respect for his accomplishments on the field and his legacy off of it. Robinson's legacy is not only championships, statistics, and awards. His legacy is what was possible because of the way in which he compromised to enable integration to be successful. Robinson's integration was indisputable, visible proof that African Americans deserved opportunities equal to whites, and it opened the door for many more examples of integration.
So again, I see him as a real strategist, and I think that mediates the conflict, whereas instead of me going back and forth with you, I can just show and prove through my actions that you're wrong.
Robinson was seen as a representation of his race, and his success showed that African Americans would succeed in other institutions as well. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. described Robinson as a pilgrim walking in the lonesome byways toward the high road of freedom. He was a sinner before the sit-ins, a freedom rider before the freedom rides. King also once told Black Dodgers pitcher Don Newcomb, referencing Robinson, Newcomb, and other early black ball players, that you'll never know how easy you and Jackie and Dobie and Campy made it for me to do my job by what you did on the ball field.
It opened up many of the minds of the people involved in either segregation or integration after that. And secondly, I think it gave the African American community a lot more confidence to be able to pursue civil rights in other fields.
Jackie is in that rarefied air hero. He challenged the barriers of law and habits and culture and racism. He didn't just change baseball. He irreversibly changed and altered a perverse course of race supremacy. The walls of fear and irrational relations had to come down. He opened the doors. He did it with the quality of sacrifice and discipline and dignity of the highest order. We thank Jackie Robinson, a transformative force whose life made America better.
It's been a long time coming, but I